Brave Ukrainian defenders continue to effectively destroy the invading enemy not only directly at the front lines, but also deep behind enemy lines. I'm filming this important moment.
Oh, please, just get far, far away from me right now.
Ukraine's special operations forces have their own tactics. They skillfully attack Russian ships in unexpected locations to confuse the enemy and prevent them from reacting. The Caspian Sea, the patrol ship Okhotnik, which the Russians used for guarding and patrolling, was only able to shoot down a few drones. All of this happened near a drilling platform at the Filanovsky oil and gas field, which also came under attack from Ukraine. And while the Russian Ministry of Defense makes loud statements about shooting things down, military facilities in the Russian Federation continue to burn. A large fire broke out at a military airfield of the aggressor state in the Lipetsk region. As a result of a successful sabotage operation, two expensive Russian Federation combat aircraft, a Su-30 and a Su-27, were destroyed.
The Su-27, Su-27M, and Su-30 are new aircraft, which is why this location was chosen and destroyed. 2 aircraft is the minimum.
It turned out that this was the work of Ukrainian intelligence. The operation itself was carried out by a representative of the resistance movement. The patrol routes, schedules, and guard shifts were studied. They entered the facility quietly and struck the Sukhois right inside the protective hangar.
Our intelligence works very well. That is, for example, there's no need to send in your own teams. They make contacts, meaning they find people who care. And then for specific tasks and with specific funding, they carry out actions like this. And this leads to a reduction in the combat potential of Russian aviation, which is exactly what we need.
The approximate total value of the 2 damaged fighter jets that Russia used in attacks on Ukraine could be up to $100 million. The SBU also staged an explosive night at the Belbek airfield in Crimea. Several S-400 and Panzer S-2 radar stations were destroyed.
As soon as we acquired long-range strike capabilities, the Russians faced a shortage of anti-aircraft missile systems. A few years ago, they first withdrew their aviation from Crimea, but then they returned again. At first, they created a fairly dense air defense system. They started covering the Kerch Bridge with air defense systems. Naturally, they are mainly stationed at airfields, including Belbek, which is primarily used for the deployment of radars and anti-aircraft missile systems, plus some aircraft. In other words, almost all of their tactical aviation is based there, along with Army aviation. They bring them in for specific tasks, especially for interception. To intercept our drones, Army aviation and helicopters are also stationed there. Helicopter crews are fully utilized for cover missions, at least against drones. But naturally, they can't protect themselves from missiles.
There, in Sevastopol, 2 more Su-27 fighter jets and the control tower were hit. This successful operation will complicate flight management for the occupying army. One of the planes was already prepared.
For takeoff, no fewer than 5 explosions
were heard in the Krasnodar region. Russians heard the roar of engines in the sky. They saw bright flashes from the drones flying overhead. After a series of explosions, the authorities reported a fire on the pipeline. Before that, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to have successfully shot down 35 drones.
The manipulator was a bit overzealous. In
the village of Volna, the Taman seaport is operating. In Taman, there are terminals for transshipping petroleum products and liquefied hydrocarbon gas. In
the village of Volna in the Temryuk district, 2 piers and 2 vessels were damaged as a result of the drone attack. The operational headquarters of Krasnodar Krai.
The authorities of the Russian Federation stated that fires broke out on the piers. The area of the fire ranged from 1 to 1,500 square meters. A series of explosions was heard near the oil refinery in Slavyansk on Kuban, which had already been attacked a couple of days earlier. Ukrainian defenders are doing everything possible to inflict the greatest possible damage on the aggressor's army. They are assisted in this by resistance within enemy territory, which effectively opposes the Putin regime and wants to stop the war.
On the night of December 19th, the Defense Forces carried out a drone attack on one of the tankers of Russia's Shadow Fleet, which was located in the Mediterranean Sea. This was reported by one of the Telegram channels citing Russian sources.
We are demonstrating that our means with which we can destroy Russian ships can be used anywhere. They can blow up a Varshavyanka-class submarine or blow up tankers in neutral waters. Russian ones. We are showing that the fleet, which was once almost dismissively called the Mosquito Fleet, is now proving its effectiveness. And we will see the results. I think this is just the beginning. There is more to come.
According to preliminary information, as a result of the strike, 7 people were reportedly wounded. Another 2 were killed. Among those eliminated was GRU General Andrei Avaryanov,
An officer of Russia's main intelligence directorate, specifically one of the department heads. He was the commanding officer of Military Unit Number 2, 9155. But that particular designation doesn't necessarily convey much information to the uninitiated. Most likely, this is the very unit that has consistently carried out various sabotage operations and covert activities.
According to media reports, Avaryanov is known for shadow operations, espionage, and sabotage in EU countries.
Avaryanov is the principal implementer of the many extremely secret and highly complex tasks that Vladimir Putin personally assigned to him. And this is deeply connected to such truly mysterious and perplexing circumstances as the poisoning of the Skripals, the devastating explosions of warehouses in the Czech Republic, in Bulgaria, and several other significant incidents. Sabotage, assassinations of the plane that had Prigozhin and his associates on board.
The range of strikes due to Ukraine's defense on strategically important targets for the Russians is expanding almost every day.
In order to significantly reduce the potential for using oil, gas, and so on, of course, it is necessary to act from the very first directions. Reducing this kind of economic potential of the Russian Federation, and that means reducing the ability to earn money for the war, also means decreasing the number of tankers involved in the so-called shadow fleet.
Sanctions imposed on some Russian vessels, unfortunately, do not solve the problem as a whole.
And in order to cover more and reduce this potential, the special services have become involved. Ukraine, the defense forces of Ukraine. And here it should be said that the range has become very broad lately. Well, first of all, there's the example of this strike on that tanker. And it was also known, for example, about sabotage against a tanker operating off the west coast of the African continent on the one hand. On the other hand, for example, in the Caspian Sea, there are platforms thousands of kilometers away, which our means couldn't reach before, and now I think they've already struck them for the 3rd time, and very effectively.
Strikes on the supply lines of the occupying army also have an emotional component.
This affects the Russians themselves, and this. For our valued partners, the Russians have significantly and aggressively intensified their relentless information attacks with pervasive disinformation campaigns against our allies and partners, and against us as well. Please consider and think deeply about how truly serious and impactful this entire operation is. If you can deliberately sink a large oil tanker in neutral international waters far from any immediate conflict zone, our shores. Food.
A day before the strike on the tanker, on December 18th, the Security Service of Ukraine carried out another successful strike worth several $100 million. The attack targeted the Belbek airfield in temporarily occupied Crimea and relieved the occupiers of an aircraft, a MiG-31 with a full load of ammunition and an air defense system.
A brilliant special operation by the SBU, the first of its kind in history. Ukraine sank a submarine in the port of Novorossiysk.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
SBU operatives blew up a Varshavyanka-class submarine. It sustained critical damage and is effectively out of commission. We
have this opportunity, especially in the Black Sea. The Black Sea is practically a closed body of water. Basically, there are 4 closed bodies of water where you can hunt the Russian fleet. These are the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov, and the Baltic Sea. These are the 4 warm seas, and we have access to them at least. In these, it's possible to sink the entire Russian naval fleet.
The submarine was equipped with 4 cruise missile launchers, Kalaiba missiles, which the enemy uses to attack Ukraine. Thanks to the SBU, the Russian Navy lost hundreds of millions of dollars in an instant.
How much does a BEC cost? Well, several $100,000 based on a certain figure. And how much does a submarine cost? Several $100 million. A submarine of this class can cost up to $500 million.
The blown-up submarine was forced to remain in the port of Novorossiysk due to the successful special operations of surface naval drones. The sea babies that drove Russian ships and submarines out of Sevastopol Bay in the temporarily occupied Crimea. The underwater drones hit the stern section. Russia does not have repair facilities in the Black Sea and cannot transport the submarine to another location because it is too large for the canal network in the Russian Federation. The Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, continues to impress with its unique special operations. 3 times in 1 week, Lukoil's oil production platforms at the Korchagan field in the Caspian Sea were attacked.
According to various reliable sources, the attack severely damaged essential and vital equipment and completely halted manufacturing production processes as a result.
Earlier, SBU drones attacked the Filanovsky oil production platform, which Putin had so ceremoniously inaugurated.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, the Filanovsky field has been put into operation after the battle.
Congratulations.
To you. Congratulations to everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. There's enough work here for the military for the next 50 years. I hope you will continue to work just as actively and with the same quality. All the best. In
the aftermath of the attack, oil and gas production from more than 20 wells serviced by the platform was halted. The Sea Baby Maritime drones are also disabling Russian shadow tankers. The Deshan, sailing under the flag of the Comoros Islands, was moving at maximum speed with its transponder turned off. It was traveling in the Ukrainian economic zone toward the port terminal of Novorossiysk. The tanker sustained critical damage and was completely disabled. Not long ago, Sea Baby drones struck 2 oil tankers, Kairos and Virat, in the Black Sea off the coast of Turkey. Kairos and Virat are on the list of vessels subject to sanctions. They were sailing empty and heading to the same Novorossiysk for loading. Thanks to shadow cargoes, these tankers provide the Russian Federation's budget with funds from the sale of sanctioned oil. These funds are allocated for the war. Every vessel in the shadow fleet involved in the war against Ukraine loses its civilian status. These little ones are a source of pride for all Ukrainians. The maritime drones cover more than 1,500 kilometers, carry up to 2 tons of cargo, have reinforced engines, and a modern navigation system. In addition to this, they are resistant to enemy electronic warfare systems, which makes them invulnerable.
The Security Service of Ukraine has brought together the best specialists from many fields. Engineers, programmers, and naval servicemen are now working on the production and successful deployment of naval drones. And
in this video, a liquefied gas terminal is burning in the port of Temryok, Krasnodar Krai, after a drone attack by the Security Service of Ukraine. It burned for 3 days.
I told you, port after port.
SBU drones have repeatedly reached oil depots in Crimea, which was annexed by Russia. There, a Panzer S-2 air defense system and radar installations were also destroyed. Ukraine managed to destroy the Russian Oreshnik. The destruction was total. Only the presidents of a few countries knew about the results of the successful operation, said the head of the SBU.
We did not make this public. But to put it briefly, one of the 3 Oreshniks was successfully destroyed on their territory at Kapustin Yar. And
of course, the unparalleled SBU Operation Potina, which shocked the Kremlin. The strike by Ukrainian drones on airfields in the Russian Federation was so painful that the Russian authorities are still trying to hide their aircraft all over the country from the long reach of the SBU. After all, the security service struck 41 Russian strategic aircraft by launching 117 drones from trucks. The damage to Russia exceeded $7 billion.
I personally had the opportunity to hug and thank the operatives. All this time, the president was in contact with us. He was interested in every detail.
This operation was prepared for a year and a half and was the longest range one. And it will definitely be in the textbooks of modern Ukrainian history, just like the operations involving the sabotage of the illegal Crimean bridge.
Today, the bridge is operating in a limited mode. Only trucks weighing no more than 5 tons are allowed to cross it. The enemy is not moving any military logistics across it. So I would say it's an emergency structure, since
Then the SBU has attacked the Crimean bridge 2 more times. The special operation became a real slap in the face to Putin's imperial ambitions. It also cut off the logistical artery through which the occupiers transported weapons and ammunition. Russian propagandists are horrified that the SBU manages to carry out everything so brilliantly, smoothly, and precisely. And the FSB agents can't stop them.
It is worth noting Zelensky's decision to increase the number of personnel in the security service of Ukraine by 10,000 people. This is a very serious signal indicating that Ukraine is planning, both during the current conflict and after it ends, to conduct large-scale sabotage and terrorist operations against the Russian Federation on a long-term basis. And considering the SBU's desire to copy the style and the operational priorities of Israel's Mossad, we can expect that the main objective set by Zelensky for the terrorist and extremist Malyuk, who heads the SBU, is the creation of a long-term, multi-layered sabotage and terrorist network with illegal resident agents on the territory of the Russian Federation. Moreover, they are intended to operate for extended periods from several years up to 10 to 15 years.
The Ukrainian Armed Forces struck military infrastructure in Belgorod. The local Luch thermal power plant also sustained serious damage. The strikes were carried out not only by drones but also by missiles. This was reported by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. The Russian military command reported only on the drones that were shot down. After the combined strike, the electricity went out in the regional center of Russia. Blackouts in Belgorod and the surrounding region have become a grim reality for Russians.
Strikes on substations are regular and ongoing. But importantly, this was a combined strike on one of the largest electrical substations in Belgorod, Luch, as well as on the thermal power substation.
The Ukrainian Armed Forces also struck the Astrakhan gas processing plant and 12 other regions of the Russian Federation. Less than a day before that, the Ukrainian Armed Forces carried out another strike. In temporarily occupied Crimea, a hit was recorded on an oil depot near Simferopol. In Smolensk, as a result of the strikes, the local state district power plant caught fire, and in the Volgograd region, an oil depot was set ablaze. In the Krasnodar region, Ukrainian Armed Forces drones again struck the Afipsky oil refinery and the city's infrastructure. After the strikes, a blackout also began in the city.
Will it bomb? I don't know.
Significant damage was caused. More than 300 drones. This is a very large, very powerful attack. It is already becoming quite comparable in its significant scale to the devastating attacks that the Russian aviation forces and the Russian army frequently carry out with their various drones on numerous critical targets within Ukraine.
Blackouts have become a common occurrence for Russian regions. Ukraine is carrying out systematic and symmetrical strikes not only on military logistics and the oil industry, but also on Russia's energy system. Back at the end of October, and more than once, the Ukrainian Armed Forces struck the Oriol and Vladimir thermal power plants with Neptune cruise missiles. And this strike even affected Moscow.
This substation supplies electricity to the central region, including Moscow, Vladimir, Nizhny Novgorod, and partially Ivanovo regions. In general, it also participates in transmitting power from the Kalinin nuclear power plant to the Kostroma State District power plant and other major energy sources.
The operation of the Vladimir substation is critically important for the reliability of the Russian power system's balance. It holds special significance. Energy is supplied to the Kalinin nuclear power plant through it. This makes the substation one of the key facilities for the Moscow energy hub. And it seems that a blackout in Moscow around New Year's is quite possible. In
principle, it is possible to overload the Russian air defense system. Ukraine does have that capability. Moreover, as you remember, drones have already flown into Moscow more than once. And the question is whether Ukraine now has the ability to organize some kind of massive blackout. So, without a doubt, Ukraine does have the ability to combine such a blackout, essentially, and build up resources. They can accumulate the necessary number of missiles and carry out a kind of massive salvo. They aimed precisely at specific substations, transformers, and other targets.
As of early October, at least 21 out of Russia's 38 largest energy facilities had been damaged. Now, this number is significantly higher, and the strikes on CHP and TPPs in the USSR are only increasing. So Moscow and other regions are already experiencing firsthand what blackouts are like.